My beloved child, listen closely. He loves you, but darkness holds him back, and God has been watching every layer of confusion, every moment of hesitation, every shadow that creeps over his heart each time he thinks of you. There is a pull inside him that he cannot understand, a tightening, a resistance, a storm that rises inside him when he feels himself getting closer to you. And God wants you to know something clearly today. It is not that he doesn't care, it is not that his affection isn't real, it is not that his heart is blind to what you bring into his life, it is that something has been gripping him spiritually, holding him back from stepping fully into the openness, clarity, honesty, and vulnerability that your connection requires. God has seen the unseen forces around him, the fear that whispers when he thinks of committing, the insecurity that grows louder whenever he considers choosing you with full certainty, and the shadows from his past that try to convince him that he doesn't deserve something pure, stable, God-shaped, and divinely aligned. You've wondered why his actions and emotions don't match. You've questioned why his heart seems warm some days but distant on others. You've cried because the connection feels undeniable, but the progress feels slow, inconsistent, confusing, or painfully stuck. But God wants you to understand something very important. The issue is not your worth, not your beauty, not your spirit, not your intention. The issue is a spiritual battle he has not yet learned to fight. God is telling you today, it is not your job to break the chains off him, that is my job. It is not your responsibility to fight the darkness around him, that is my territory. You have loved, you have waited, you have prayed, and now I am about to intervene. You've been carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be yours. You've tried to decode silence, understand contradictions, and make sense of mixed signals, but God knows your heart has grown tired. You aren't imagining what you feel. You aren't imagining the pull. You aren't imagining the connection. But you also aren't imagining the resistance. Because the resistance is real, not physical, not logical, not emotional, but spiritual. The enemy often fights what God intends to unite, because he recognizes the power of aligned hearts. The enemy knows that when the right two souls come together, they break generational cycles, they heal wounds that go back decades, they birth blessings that change families, and they walk into a future that multiplies everything God placed inside them. And that is why the darkness around him has been fighting so hard to keep him confused, overwhelmed, uncertain, or emotionally closed. God says, he loves you more than he knows how to express. But he has been bound by fears he never learned to name, wounds he never healed, and spiritual battles he never learned to fight. But I am about to intervene. I am about to break what has been blocking him. I am about to undo the knots around his heart. God has watched him struggle in silence, pretending he is fine when he is not, pretending he is in control when he is not, pretending he is unaffected when he is deeply affected. And God has watched you try to remain patient while carrying hope in one hand and worry in the other. But heaven is not ignorant of your prayers. God has heard the questions you whispered at night, the "why does he pull away?" and "why does he feel so close yet so far?" and "is this real or am I losing myself in something I don't understand?" God knows you were not asking out of doubt but out of longing for clarity, peace, and truth. Today God wants to bring light where there has been confusion. God wants to reveal the deeper truth behind his hesitation. He has been battling internal shadows, the shadows of old heartbreak, betrayal, abandonment, regret, guilt, and the feeling of unworthiness. He has been fighting thoughts that tell him he might fail again, that he might disappoint you, that he might not be good enough, that he might lose something precious if he lets himself be fully seen. These thoughts are not from God. These thoughts are from the darkness that has tried to keep him stuck. But God is stepping in. God is declaring over your life right now, what has been stuck will move. What has been blocked will open. What has been silent will speak. What has been hidden will be revealed. And what has been held back by fear will finally be released into truth. You may not know this, but he thinks of you more often than he shows. You live in his thoughts even when he acts distant. You affect him more deeply than he allows himself to admit. And every time he tries to walk away, something inside him pulls him right back, because the connection is not accidental, not random, not temporary. It is part of something God ordained, something spiritually designed, something that has meaning beyond what either of you fully understands right now. But God doesn't want you trapped in confusion. That is why God is about to lift the spiritual shadows around him. God is about to expose the lies that fear has whispered to his heart. God is about to interrupt the enemy's strategies and dismantle the emotional walls that kept him from choosing you with clarity and courage. You've had moments where you sensed this spiritually, moments where you felt something shift, moments where you felt God pulling you closer to the truth, moments where you felt the connection spiritually tightening even when physically nothing changed. That was not your imagination. That was God preparing you for what is about to unfold. You are stepping into a season of revelation, clarity, and divine exposure, where God will show you why he hesitated, what he truly feels, what he's been hiding even from himself, and what God is about to restore in him. There is a part of him that feels safe with you, and that terrifies him. He has never known a connection like this, something that touches the emotional, the spiritual, the mental, and the internal all at once. Something that forces him to confront pieces of himself he tried to ignore. Something that demands honesty he never had to give before. Something that makes him feel seen in a way that scares him because he fears vulnerability. But God says, I am about to give him courage. I am about to give him clarity. I am about to give him strength to step out of the shadows he has been trapped in. There is a healing coming to him, not the kind you can force, not the kind you can initiate, not the kind you can rush, but the kind only God can deliver. God is about to remove the spiritual fog around his heart. God is about to break the chains that kept him emotionally paralyzed. God is about to free his voice so he can speak truth rather than silence. God is about to open his eyes so he can finally see the connection clearly, not through the lens of fear or hesitation. You may have thought God was silent, but he has been working behind the scenes. You may have felt abandoned, but God was aligning the right moment for revelation. You may have felt stuck, but God was preparing movement. You may have felt forgotten, but God was orchestrating a divine interruption that will change everything. God is saying today, you will not remain in the shadows of uncertainty. You will not live in confusion. You will not be left wondering about what his heart truly carries. I am about to reveal the truth. You are entering a season where everything that felt hidden will come into the light. He will recognize what you've been carrying, what you've been giving, what you've been holding together with prayer and patience. God is softening his heart. God is breaking the hardness that fear created. God is melting the ice that past pain built. God is dismantling the emotional walls he couldn't tear down on his own. And soon, he will begin to feel something shift inside him, a quiet courage, a growing clarity, a divine push that he cannot ignore. He will start feeling drawn to you in a deeper, more intentional way. He will feel the weight of avoiding you. He will feel the discomfort of staying silent. He will feel the ache of not expressing what lives inside him. God is not only breaking the darkness around him, but he is awakening the love within him. God has been protecting your heart this whole time. That is why things didn't fall apart even on the days it felt like they would. That is why you held on even when fear told you to let go. That is why you felt God whispering, "Wait," even when you wanted to walk away. God was preparing something bigger than your frustration, bigger than your doubt, bigger than the silence, and bigger than the confusion. You were never waiting on him, you were waiting on God's timing. And God's timing is arriving. The spiritual darkness holding him back is losing its power. The fears gripping his heart are breaking. The confusion clouding his thoughts is lifting. The silence around him is cracking. And the truth inside him is rising. He loves you, not casually, not shallowly, not momentarily, but deeply, spiritually, soulfully. And God is about to bring that truth to light in a way that is undeniable. God has been watching both of you move through this slow, uncertain, spiritually heavy season, and he knows how deeply you have felt every shift, every silence, every sudden distance, every moment where things felt so close to breakthrough only to fall into confusion again. But God wants you to understand that none of this has been random. There has been a spiritual purpose behind every delay, every hesitation, every unanswered question. You have been walking through a divine setup, a season where God allowed certain things to pause, not to punish you, but to protect what he is planning to build between the two of you. And now, the season is beginning to turn. There are moments coming where you will start to notice things changing in him, small changes at first, subtle movements, quiet shifts in his energy, tone, and presence. He will begin to look at you differently, not through the lens of fear but through awakening. Something inside him will begin to break open, almost like a realization rising, like truth surfacing, like clarity forming after months of internal fog. And this change won't be because of pressure or expectation, but because God is moving inside him. For so long, the darkness around him has whispered lies, that he wasn't good enough, that he would fail, that he didn't deserve love, that he should stay guarded, that opening his heart would bring pain instead of healing. These lies wrapped around him like chains, pulling him back every time he tried to step forward. But the moment God intervenes, every lie loses its strength. And God is intervening now. He will begin to feel uncomfortable with the distance he created. He will feel the heaviness of silence. He will feel the ache of staying away. Because once God starts awakening his spirit, everything he has been suppressing will rise. His hidden love will rise. His suppressed desire for connection will rise. His longing for your presence will rise. His fear will shrink, his hesitation will weaken, and his heart will begin to lead him toward you with a force that feels bigger than him, because it is. God is telling you today that he is already working behind the scenes, and soon you will see the signs. You will feel the spiritual shift first. You will sense it before you see it. You will feel a new peace in your spirit, a calmness you haven't felt in months. You will feel an unexplainable assurance rising inside you, not because he suddenly reached out, but because God is whispering, "It is happening." The breakthrough is beginning. There will come a day, sooner than you think, when he will finally confront himself. When the darkness that held him back will no longer be able to speak louder than his truth. When the love he has been burying will rise so strongly that he cannot silence it anymore. When the pain he carries will demand healing instead of suppression. And that day will change everything. He will start remembering your kindness, your patience, your quiet strength, the way you made him feel safe, the way you brought light into the places he kept hidden. He will begin to realize that what he feels for you isn't ordinary, it's rare, it's divine, it's spiritually connected. And he will know that walking away from you would not bring peace, it would bring regret. Because God is opening his eyes. You may not realize it, but he has been spiritually tied to you long before you notice the depth of the connection. God has been weaving your threads in ways that were invisible to both of you. Every time he tried to disconnect emotionally, something inside him stayed attached. Every time he tried to convince himself that distance was easier, God placed a tug in his spirit that he could not drown out. Every time he tried to shut down, God kept a spark alive. But now that God is breaking the darkness around him, that spark is about to grow. His feelings for you will no longer be something he runs from, they will become something he moves toward. And this transformation will not happen because of external pressure. It will happen because God is reshaping him from the inside. There is a moment coming when he will choose honesty over fear. When he will choose courage over silence. When he will choose clarity over confusion. When he will choose healing over hiding. And when that moment comes, you will feel the shift instantly, almost like a weight lifting from your heart, almost like the silence breaking, almost like your spirit exhaling after holding its breath for too long. God is preparing you as well. This whole time, God has been strengthening your heart, refining your patience, shaping your discernment, and teaching you to trust divine timing. You have grown spiritually in ways you may not even realize. Your connection with God deepened because of this season. Your intuition sharpened. Your sensitivity increased. Your spiritual awareness expanded. Nothing you endured was wasted. God is saying, you are being positioned for what you prayed for. Not by luck, not by chance, but by his design. And part of this positioning requires you to release the fear of disappointment. God doesn't want you holding on to tension, anxiety, or doubt. He wants you stepping into this new chapter with peace, not fear, with expectation, not skepticism, with faith, not worry. Because what is coming is not another cycle. It is a breakthrough. He will begin to step into the light, slowly at first, then boldly. He will open up about what he feels, what he fears, what he has been fighting. He will reveal the thoughts he never shared, the moments he missed you, the times he held back words he wanted to say, the nights he wrestled between running and surrendering. He will begin to speak truth instead of hiding behind silence. And you will see in his eyes that something has changed, not just his words, not just his actions, but his spirit. God is renewing him, reshaping him, awakening him. And because of this awakening, he will no longer be guided by the darkness that once held him back. This is the season where God begins to restore what was spiritually delayed. This is the season where God shines light on what was hidden. This is the season where God brings forward the truth you were meant to see. This is the season where God takes control of the story. And soon, you will no longer be wondering what He feels. You will no longer be guessing, questioning, overthinking, or hoping without clarity. God is bringing truth. God is bringing revelation. God is bringing divine alignment. And now God brings you to the moment your spirit has been sensing without fully understanding. The moment where something inside you feels calmer, more grounded, more aligned, as if heaven is preparing to release what has been held back for far too long. You have walked through a season of spiritual heaviness, waiting, uncertainty, and emotional stretching, but God wants you to know that you were not walking in circles, you were walking toward breakthrough. And now that breakthrough is drawing near. There will come a time, very soon, when everything will begin to unfold in ways that feel almost surreal to you. Not rushed, not forced, not confusing, but gentle, natural, divinely aligned. The same God who protected your heart during the silent season is the God who is preparing to reveal truth in the open. The same God who watched you cry in private is the God who is preparing to bring you joy in ways you didn't expect. The same God who saw him struggle under the weight of fear and darkness is the God who is about to lift him out of everything that held him back. One day, and that day is closer than you think, he will come forward with a clarity that surprises even him. He will speak with a vulnerability he used to avoid. He will express truths he once buried, because God will not allow him to keep living in emotional shadows. You will see a version of him that feels healed, awakened, and spiritually softened. You will notice that the weight he used to carry in his voice is gone. You will feel that the tension that once surrounded your connection has melted. And instead of confusion, there will be peace. Instead of distance, there will be closeness. Instead of fear, there will be intention. He will look at you differently, with recognition, with understanding, with the kind of depth that only comes from a heart God has touched. And in that moment, you will realize that everything you went through, everything you waited for, everything you prayed over, was not in vain. God was not withholding. He was preparing. You will hear him say things you never thought he would have the courage to say. He will tell you that he cared long before he showed it. He will tell you that he fought feelings he didn't know how to handle. He will tell you that he wanted to come closer but didn't feel strong enough, healed enough, or worthy enough. And as he speaks, you will feel God's presence between you, not forcing, not pushing, but guiding, aligning, solidifying the connection that has been spiritually alive long before it was emotionally expressed. All the misunderstandings that weighed on your heart will begin to fade as God fills the space between you with truth. You will understand why he hesitated. You will understand why he acted distant. You will understand why the connection felt spiritually heavy instead of emotionally clear. You will understand the battle he was fighting, the one you could sense but couldn't see. And God will show you that it was never about him not loving you, it was about him being spiritually stuck. But he will not be stuck anymore. Divine intervention has already begun. God is removing the last remnants of fear from his heart. God is silencing the lies that told him he wasn't enough. God is healing the wounds that whispered he would be hurt again. God is strengthening the parts of him that used to collapse under pressure. God is restoring the confidence he lost. And God is reminding his spirit that love is not something to run from, it is something to rise into. And as he rises, you will rise with him. Your own heart will feel lighter, freer, clearer. The questions that kept you awake at night will no longer exist. The spiritual weight that once sat on your chest will lift. You will feel God's reassurance surrounding you like gentle warmth, reminding you that he was writing this story all along. The pain you carried will transform into wisdom. The confusion you endured will transform into understanding. And the waiting you survived will transform into answered prayer. God wants you to know that what is coming is not temporary. It is not unstable. It is not inconsistent. It is something built on healing, truth, divine timing, and spiritual clarity. It will feel different from anything before because it will be guided, not by fear, but by God. This is not the beginning of a new cycle, it is the beginning of a new season. A season where both hearts meet in alignment, not resistance. A season where both spirits walk in truth, not confusion. A season where what was once spiritually blocked becomes spiritually blessed. You are stepping into a chapter where your heart will finally understand why it had to wait. Because the version of him you are about to meet, the healed version, the courageous version, the God-awakened version, is the version he was always meant to be for you. And God refused to let you settle for anything less. There will be peace. There will be clarity. There will be truth. There will be breakthrough. There will be divine timing made visible. And above all, there will be the unmistakable evidence that God intervened. The confusion ends. The spiritual darkness breaks. The truth rises. And the connection God ordained finally comes into alignment. Your spirit will recognize it immediately. Your heart will feel it deeply. And your soul will whisper, "This is what God was preparing me for."